Hi everyone, this video is dedicated to my friend Greg, but I decided to share it with everyone who's stuck with Maya in their production environment and has no access to Houdini for whatever reason. Here is a free handy tool that I wrote a decade ago to shatter geometry for destruction effects in Maya, and recently I made it work for Maya 2020 and up. It's based on Maya's fragile Boolean operation, but if you are careful you can get some pretty decent results, like this, without that boring Voronoi look. And this is my giveaway to the CG community. So bear with me and I'll walk you through the process. Alright, let's create a cube first, and scale it up to 10 centimeters. But before we continue, please download pl_chip_off mail script from the link in the description. Load that into Maya and type a mail command pl_chip_off and UI should pop up. Feel free to add it to your shelf and run it from there like I did. If we select the points and click cut, bunch of cutting geos will be generated, but it won't cut the box because of the preview checkbox is enabled. Let's undo and change the min scale and max div and click cut. As we can see, the cutting geo scale and subdivisions has been randomized between these values. If we click cut again, the cube will be shattered by the cutting geo. Let's see what just happened in the outliner. Our original cube is hidden and two groups have been created. First group contains the cutting geo and the second the shattered geo result with the name we specify in the group name parameter. Let's select the bottom points, but this time enable single mode and click cut. As we can see, only one cutting geo has been created with the size of the bounding box of the selected points. By default, the cutting geo is simply a squeezed box with subdivision applied to it and some noise. We can transform and change the subdivisions and noise at this point. Let's make sure the cutting geo is not overlapping our box in multiple places in order to get one clean cut. To cut by this geo, we must select the box first and the cutting geo last, then click cut. Same idea applies to the multiple cutting geos. Okay, let's delete the cutting geo and see what we've got. We can select any piece in the shattered group and click explode. In the new pop-up window we can adjust the offset. This is just a simple parent constraint with connection to the scale on the locator. Click delete and the constraint will be deleted. We can use explode on any other group of meshes of your choice. Also we can call it with a mail command pl_shatter explode if pl chip off has been loaded. The interior geometry has UVs that have been moved up by 2 tiles to simplify UV edits later. Let's delete the result and unhide the original cube. Use plane replaces the default cutting geo to planes with wave deformer and noise on it. All the controls are exposed on each plane. Amplitude and wavelength are part of the wave deformer. Also we can add any other deformers or subdivide on top. Let's select the cube first and the cutting planes last. Also it would make sense to enable result only to automatically kill the cutting planes. If delete org is enabled, the original cube mesh will be deleted. Click cut. The flat option creates the flat plane but still has a wave deformer on it. This is the most useful type of the cutting geo. If we disable result only, we can use it multiple times. I would start with this type first to cut large and medium chunks, and then the small ones with the default type. You may want to enable delete org, otherwise the original chunks will be hidden after cut operation. As you can see, sometimes legacy boolean operation fails. And if we disable use legacy, the tool will be using a carve boolean library algorithm. which works much faster with dense meshes but fails sometimes too, and may assign interior material to the exterior mesh. Merge distance merges points before the shattering, based on this value here. It's important to note the Maya's Boolean operation likes watertight and clean meshes, and doesn't like non-manifold geometry or invalid components. The shattering tool includes geometry cleanup and fill holes functions, but it may not fix some nasty meshes. Also, we are not limited by the cutting planes the tool provides. Any other geometry is fine too. Let's shatter a wood plank into pieces. Enable single mode, use plane and flat, select side points, click cut. Adjust some of the parameters, position, and cut. Let's cut more. And click explode to check the result. I think it's looking good. It's time to shatter something more complex. For example, cats. You can download it for free from CG Trader. The link is in the description. This model is pretty low res, but this may be typical in your production environment if the asset gets subdivided at the render time. But for the destruction effects, it makes sense to subdivide it before the shattering process and disable the render time sub-D. Otherwise, it may reveal unwanted seams in the render result. In this case, one subdivision level is enough. Before we start, I would like to share a few tips that I have learned. The first is find the references if you can. The second, define the impact area, in this case heads area. The third is try to create a variety of sizes like large, medium and small pieces. In my experience, the ratio of 20, 30, 50 works well with the highest concentration of the small pieces around the impact area. And the last one, keep in mind that tiny pieces can be generated with particles and instances at the simulation stage. Okay, let's shatter it. For the first cut I would disable legacy. It's pretty slow with dense meshes. It's a good idea to use an explode button frequently to check for errors. Once all the large and medium pieces are ready, it's time to chip off the small pieces. I think it's looking okay. The result is around 500 pieces and it took 3 hours, but I've got some kind of satisfaction while manually shattering piece by piece with that feeling of full control at every step of the process, if you know what I mean. The next shattering method that I'm about to show is more complex than previous, but it gives an option to cut by pre-drawn pattern and it works well with flat surfaces like window glass and concrete walls and floors. In this scene, I have a concrete block and a plane with cracked texture on it. Let's switch to a top view and activate EP Curve tool with linear settings. It's important to start the curve outside of the boundaries with at least 2 points and roughly start tracing the pattern. Also, we have to make sure that we have intersection points. We can hide the plane and group the curves and name it. Now we have to download a pl_shutter by curve script from the link in the description, then type it in the mail command line and the UI should pop up. The top part of this UI is for appraising the group of curves. The name parameter defines the appraised curves group name. This one sets the number of points that will be generated between original curve points. And the noise parameter sets the noise amount that will be applied to the newly generated points. Adjust the parameters, select the group with curves and click Appress. As you can see, we've got a pretty detailed result. We can hide the original curves. Next, we extrude the curves into a new group called Extruded in positive Y direction. Adjust the position of the extruded mesh. Press F9 to enable point selection mode on all meshes. Scale down and shift it. Select all the planes and add 12 divisions in V. Convert selection to points and apply transform component with random value of 10, but do not hit enter, just click apply. And let's adjust local translate Z with low sensitivity. I think it's looking good. Select the block first and extruded meshes last and click cut. In case of fails, I suggest to cut one by one with PL chip off instead. The tool has a bonus side effect. The layout artist may find it useful to quickly scatter rock-like meshes. Let's create a simple terrain plane. Add noise and subdivide. Select points with a brush and click cut. Now we have to download a PL Rod Scale script from the link in the description and set random rotation on Y from minimum -180 to maximum 180 degrees. Let's delete the extra rocks and scale some of these puppies. And done! And I've got a couple of bonus scripts for you. Let's say we have a cube and we move it and rotate. Click Freeze Transformations and we've lost the original position and orientation. To fix it, select the face that represents the orientation the best and type ML command pl_unfreeze. As you can see, we have the transform and rotate values back, and if we set it to 0, the cube moves to origin with the proper orientation. Here is another one. We have two objects and let's combine them. And in order to scale them and preserve the position, we have to manually select the faces of each of them separately and scale. But if you type PL scale shells, you can scale it up and down by this multiplier. Alright, I hope these little tools save you some valuable time, and it would be a pleasure to see what kind of cool stuff you can do with it. Please let me know what you think, and feel free to contact me at pl.fxtd@gmail.com. Thanks for watching and good luck!